The first Industrial Revolution was a time period from the late 1790s to the mid-19th century. It was kicked off by a man named Samuel Slater when he invented the first water-powered cotton spinning machine, or at least he kinda did. He memorized the plans when he was working in the mills in England and brought them over to the US. The name of the real guy that invented the cotton spinning machine was Richard Arkwright, but more on those two later. Many other products were designed and invented during the time of the Industrial Revolution, such as the steam engine, the spinning jenny, the water frame, and the power loom. These all helped mechanize production and make it easier for people to have mass production and interchangeable parts and make more money during this time period. The two guys who popularized interchangeable parts were John Hall and Eli Whitney. John Hall, who developed and established the machinery, and Eli Whitney, who popularized it when he made 10,000 muskets using government money using these methods. Now, speaking more on the mass production and interchangeable parts part, the main thing they did was make it easier to massively produce products. This was mainly used for firearms, because during this time period, the Second Amendment was a pretty cool and new thing, so people wanted to exercise that with their muskets and pistols, but they couldn't fix them themselves. So, by making these interchangeable parts, it would be easier for people to fix their guns on their own, and also make it cheaper for them. Now, in order to make these interchangeable parts as cheap as possible, they had to make the mass production part also really cheap. In order to do that, they had to use the cheapest workers possible, which was mainly children and women at the time. They did have some other problems with the workers dying and getting injured during this time, so they couldn't work anymore, so they just made them really easy to replace. By doing that, they could achieve the cheapest way possible of getting workers and making more money.
Bless the Second Amendment!
The Market Revolution, a time of change and progression. As industrialization took over America, trade began to evolve. As we no longer needed to import everything, mercantilism, the policy of exporting everything and importing almost nothing, once thought to be dead. Many first world countries, also a part of the Market Revolution, was switched from handmade to factory-produced goods, normally also being higher quality and quantity and cheaper. Northern cities also began to boom as production and exporting hubs greatly bolstered their economical influence. The Market Revolution.
As things like factories sprung up, they needed workers. We needed strong, smart, hardworking, and most importantly, cheap. We'll come back to that in a second. Now, ladies, I have good news and bad news. You can get a job now. Bad news, conditions are not great. Generally around 12-hour workdays and dark, crappy working conditions with the goal of keeping the cheapest labor to keep profits as high as possible. And good news for kids, too. No child labor laws mean that you can work just as much as the adults, and those little hands are great for getting in there and fixing those machines while they're still running. I don't think you can quit now. High unemployment rates means that you are replaceable. There's always another kid or single mom to take your place. As people were getting bored with farming, more and more people were being pulled to urban areas. This process is called urbanization. There were several push and pull factors, some of the push factors being things like lack of resources and new opportunity, and pull factors like promises of better healthcare, job opportunities, and education being some of the big ones. However, it was often discovered after they actually ended up leaving those farms and getting into these larger cities that things were not quite as great as they might seem.
With people and goods traveling faster than ever, information did too. Telegraphs were first demonstrated by Samuel Morse in 1844 when he sent a message from Washington, D.C. to Baltimore. By 1861, telegraphs had spread across the nation from the East Coast to the West Coast. People could send messages across the country in minutes.
The Erie Canal was finished in 1825, finally connecting the Great Lakes to the Atlantic Ocean. This allowed people to travel twice, maybe even 3 times as far in one day. It also significantly boosted the profits of farmers, as they could now sell their products worldwide. Along with the Erie Canal, steamboats sped up travel significantly. After being invented by a man named Robert Fulton, steamboats slowly grew in popularity until they could be found almost everywhere. They were so popular, in fact, that the boilers would occasionally burst due to passengers overcrowding the deck, leading to tragic outcomes.
A+ at the camera. Give an A+ and some extra credit too.